Hey everybody, Ryan Gibbons here, back to talk to you today about a new head unit. Not for the 4Runner this time though, actually for the Toyota RAV4, more specifically the 2019 to 2022 5th gen RAV4. If you have a 5th gen RAV4, again, that ranges from 2019, I believe through present, it's 2024, so I believe that's through present. Then you've become accustomed with a nice head unit, one that includes Apple CarPlay. If you have the hybrid, you can see the real-time, analytics on the dashboard, but quite an improvement from Toyota's historic Entune operating system. If you're an Apple CarPlay person, Android Auto person, it's a way big improvement on, like I said, on the Entune system. But one thing I will acknowledge is that in the RAV4, in the 5th gen RAV4, the head unit is a bit on the smaller side. I mean, it's fine, it works. If you've ever been in a Jeep, it's significantly better than a Jeep. Anything Toyota is better than a Jeep, let's make that clear. But the actual head unit itself is a little on the smaller side. It's got some dials on each side, buttons along the sides, and that's fine. I think, again, it's an improvement, but I was surprised to see that actually Roadanvi, which is an affiliation with Toyota, actually makes an upgraded head unit for the RAV4. So this is what we have today to show you. They sent this over to us, want us to throw this on our RAV4. We have a 2020 hybrid RAV4. No, I'm sorry, 2021 hybrid RAV4. So we're gonna get into all the details of how to install it, how to install the existing OEM radio, how to install this bad boy, and we'll do some side-by-sides to show you. You can see my little camera set up, but we'll do some side-by-sides to show you how much of an improvement this size radio is compared to the OEM one. So stay tuned. Okay, so let's talk about some of the features that are included in the HA5901 RAV4 head unit that we're going to be installing today. So again, it fits the 2019 through 2022 models. It may fit the 23 and 24, I'm not entirely sure. So if you've upgraded this radio, definitely, if you upgraded to this radio and you have a 2003 plus, definitely drop that in the comments below. Curious to hear about your experience and if this worked. But what they advertise is that it fits the 2019 and 2022. Comes with all the necessary harnesses to do a plug and play swap with the radio. These radios are super simple to install. Don't take it to a shop. Watch this video, do it yourself. Save yourself a couple bucks. But the OEM radio, I think, is roughly 7 to 8 inches, corner to corner, and this is 12.3 inches, so roughly 5 or 6 inches bigger than the existing radio, which is great. Again, it comes with all the right harnesses to plug and play this thing. You're going to be able to retain your factory backup reverse camera. If you have any front cameras, 360 cameras, all that stuff can be, it seems like that can be maintained with the harness that's included. What else do we have here? So wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, mirror link. I believe mirror link, I've never done it before, but I believe mirror link just kind of mirrors whatever tablet or phone you have onto the screen in front of you. But if you use CarPlay, if you use Android Auto, I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but who knows, maybe some people have different kinds of phones on different operating systems and they want to use that. But I think for the masses, wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto is one of the big features here. You can download apps from the Google Store, the Google Play Store. So if you choose to use the native UI operating system that comes with this radio and you don't want to use CarPlay, don't want to use Android Auto, that's fine. Go to the Google Play Store. You'll have to connect this radio to a Wi-Fi in order to download all that stuff. But if you hotspot from your phone to this radio, then that's how you can stream your internet to this radio. If you're close to your house, just connect to the Wi-Fi in the house, download all those apps, and then as you're on the road, you will need to have a hotspot connected to this in order to use those apps. So if you want to watch YouTube TV, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, do not advise doing that because it's really dangerous. I watched an Eagles game on a trip with my wife to Utah, and we almost flipped off the road just because the Eagles scored. Go Birds! But yeah, got to be careful with that stuff. But you can do it all here. If you're safely parked in a parking lot, that might be the right place to do this. But I will leave that up to you. Do not hold me accountable for whatever you do with this radio after it's installed. There are 3 brightness modes, so light, dark, auto. Auto is what you would expect. If you're driving during the day, it'll be in light mode. If you're driving at night, it'll go into dark mode. So it does that auto conversion for you. I tend to always keep these things in dark mode. I just think it's a stealthier look, but you have that option. You also have the option of an HDMI video output or input. So I guess if you have like a DVD player in your car, or I don't know, stream DVDs to this. You could do that through the HDMI. There's other purposes for having an HDMI connected to your radio, but you do have that import that's included here. Bluetooth tethering, all the steering wheel controls. I think that's another thing to really emphasize. All the steering wheel controls that you have today with this harness that comes with the radio is adaptable. So volume up, volume down, clicking forward and back between tracks, all that is maintained here. You can actually modify that as well. At least you could on the 4Runner, and I believe you could do it here because it's on the Vivid 11 operating system, which is another radio that we have installed on the 4Runner. So you can actually change how you want to navigate to different songs or different stations on the radio. I think you can go left, right, up, down, but you can modify that as well with this. So pretty cool. And then other apps you can install: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not sure why you would want to be scrolling through Instagram while you're driving, but if that's what you want to do, again, don't hold me accountable for it, but it seems like you can do that, which is great. Okay, so before we get started doing the actual installation, which again, super simple thing to do, watch this video, save yourself a few bucks. Let's talk about what actually comes in the kit that you purchase, or the actual unit that you purchase. So it comes with a warranty card. Fill that out, send it in. Something breaks, you get in a car accident, whatever the case is. They have 30 days for return and exchange, 365-day warranty. So fill it out, send it back in. I believe you can submit this online as well, but it comes with a warranty card. Next thing it comes with is the user manual. This is helpful if you are doing that initial connection from your device, your phone, your iPhone, your Android, whatever the case is. Making that initial connection sometimes can be a pain in the ass, but honestly, I haven't had too many issues with the more recent radios we've installed. But you'll find instructions on how to do that here. Once you make that connection, every time you hop back in the car, it seems to recognize it right away. My wife and I both use the 4Runner where we have a station radio, and you know, if she's driving it that day, or I'm driving it the next day, sometimes we have to go into our Bluetooth and find the radio and connect, and then it's wirelessly connected, but it's just because we both use the car. If you're the only person using your car, it should recognize you each and every time, which is cool. So anyway, user manual. I would also say once you get that connection made, if you're just gonna use Apple CarPlay all the time or Android Auto all the time, which is what I do, Apple CarPlay, as you can see with the Apple headphones, I'm an Apple person, you probably won't need this anymore, but put it aside, it's good to have. So then the other thing that this includes is all the harnesses and connections that you need to make. You'll see in the video that some of these things are plug for plug, very, very straightforward. If you can do this, if you can plug a plug into the wall, you should be able to make these connections as well. Some of them are specifically sized in here, in the actual Roadanvi package to connect with the OEM harness. So it's pretty straightforward. We'll show you all the connections you have to make. And then another harness set here as well. This is where, if you can see it in here, it's like a maroonish kind of box. This is the one that helps you maintain your steering wheel controls and some of your other audio and video connections. So both of these together are included in the kit. I believe we'll likely use everything from each of these. We might not have every single plug plugged in because these harnesses tend to accommodate multiple models, multiple series of within that generation. So there might be new features that come out years later where you're gonna need that harness, where you wouldn't need it on an older generation. We have a 2021, so we'll see what we use and what we don't use, but don't fret if you plug everything and you're like, oh shit, there's like 3 left over and they're not plugged in. You'll likely be fine. So again, watch this video as you're doing the installation. And then the last thing is it includes the radio, the actual, you know, screen and head unit itself. So this thing is massive. One of the things you'll notice too is it's got this curved back, and if you look at the back of your RAV4 radio, you'll notice that you kind of have like that same slope. As you look at this at first, you're like, how the hell is that going to fit into my RAV? I mean, like I've got the, you know, the actual the climate controls and stuff down there, and the vents, and like how's this thing going to stretch 12.3 inches when I have one that's 7.5 inches now? It will. And then one thing you'll notice as well is this is considered a single DIN. If you've installed radios back in the day with like bigger screens, you likely put in a double DIN radio. This is a single DIN. So I don't know if it's really important to know or not, but now you know. And then one other thing you'll notice is there's no input for, there's no CD drive or DVD player or you know, CD for music. Nothing like that. Who uses that stuff anymore? You really don't need it. In the RAV4 or in the 4Runner radios we put in, none of them have had a CD player or a tape deck or anything like that, because everything is through Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube and iTunes, and it just doesn't really make and through Bluetooth, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to actually have all of your music on CDs. But You don't need it. I'm telling you right now. So anyway, all right, let's actually go out to the RAV now. We'll uninstall the OEM radio, and then we will come back. We'll take this, plug in all the right harnesses, throw that back into the RAV, and show you what this thing looks like. We are inside the cab of our 2021 RAV4. So first and foremost, let's go over the tools you're likely going to need to remove this. I've never done this before. Saw some videos, think I have a good idea of how to remove the OEM radio. So first and foremost, you're going to need a socket wrench with a 10mm socket on the end. I've got a deep socket here. The other thing I have is an extension, just in case. I believe we have to go down and remove 4 bolts behind the radio. So I brought the extension just in case, might not need it, but always be careful because as you're swinging this thing around, you do not want to tap the windshield. So just be cautious of that. The other thing we're gonna need is a couple different plastic removal tools. So I've got this big fat one here. I bought a kit on Amazon a couple of years ago, maybe it was 15 bucks. And it came with a variety of different sizes and shapes. This one is pretty good for getting in and wedging larger plastic panels out. You don't want to get in there with a flathead screwdriver because you're going to start marring up the plastic. So these plastic din removal tools are really good, or panel removal tools. So I've got this one, this old blue one I got from, I don't know, AutoZone maybe. And then this one came with another Desacia radio. So I believe with the combination of all 3 of these rainbow colored panel removal tools, should be able to get that thing off. All right, so this is a bit of a weird angle, but if you can see behind here, there's this plastic panel we're going to remove. And once we remove that, I believe there's 4 bolts behind there. And then once we remove those 4 bolts, this whole head unit should be able to pop out. So let's get started. Okay, it's kind of hard to film back here, but we removed that plastic panel off. It's sitting right here. As you can see, it's held together with some retaining clips. Nothing special, but you should feel comfortable popping that off. But you can see that if I was to get back here with like a flathead screwdriver, I could mar up a lot of that actual dash right there. So that's where those plastic din removal tools come really handy. All right, now that we have the back panel removed, what we need to now focus our attention on is these 2 10mm bolts on the left side, and then there's going to be 2 10mm on the right side. Really tight angle here between the windshield and the glass to film, so I'll do my best to film it. But know that those 4 bolts are the ones that have to come out, and to the best of my knowledge, that radio should be able to pop right out. Yep, it's going to be impossible to film this. I am not a great cinematographer, if you couldn't tell already. So just know that I'm going to be focused on removing these 2 and then these 2 over here. So stay tuned. All right, not overly hard to remove. In fact, they were super light, not threaded in too tight. And what I would say is, because it's such a tight angle in there, just be careful. I don't know how far these things could drop down behind the crevasse that is behind this radio, but it's a tight squeeze. I don't have the biggest hands in the world, but I had a little bit of trouble pulling the 2 bolts on the back sides, not the ones on the front side. They were easily accessible, but I mean, I think 45 seconds in and I got all 4 out, so we should be able to do it. All right, I think at this point we should just be able to pop this thing off, unhook all the harnesses, and get ourselves ready to get the radio in. So let's give it a shot. Okay, much easier than I thought it was going to be. But as you can see, you kind of just pop that out. Let me go ahead and get these clips out, and then we should be able to get started on adding the radio back in. As you can see, all these wires and stuff like that are plugged into the back of the radio. Should be fairly straightforward to pop those out and get the radio in, the new one. All right, pretty straightforward. All unplugged. We'll likely use a lot of these harnesses with the new radio. So let's go ahead and bring this back into the house and see what this all entails. All right, let's take a look at both of these radios side by side. So, yeah, quite the size difference. As you just kind of pan back, the screen size on this one, like I said, 7 inches, 7 to 8 inches, I believe, give or take. 12.3 inches. So significantly different. In fact, if I sit it on top of each other, you can see right then and there, it's pretty substantial difference. So that's cool. What I'm curious about, and what we'll find out soon, is how the actual back of this kind of lines up with the original one. Remember, we took that plastic panel off of the top of the OEM radio. I don't know if it actually goes back on here, but I don't think it does. You see this kind of like cleat or like this little bottom like lip right there, that curved angle. You got that same thing on the frame of the radio here. So my guess is the actual size of this radio is about the size of this plastic piece behind here, and it follows that same kind of contoured line there. Not sure if I'm making a whole lot of sense, but I think the screen size here is going to overlay quite a bit of the dashboard, which could be really cool. So we'll see, but yeah, pretty significant difference between the two. So let's take a look at the harnesses. Okay, so now that we're back in the house, let's unpack both of these harness packs. I'll do, I don't want to say a time lapse, but I'll do a somewhat sped up version because I think a lot of this is going to be trial and error, just plugging things in, seeing where they fit. And then once we do that, if there's anything to explain, I will explain it. But I think it'll be pretty straightforward, plugging things in, bringing it out to the car, plugging things in there, firing it up and see what it looks like. But why don't we go ahead and get started? All right, we're back in the car, so let's start connecting all of these wires in this rat nest into the head unit. So probably should be a little bit smarter and put a towel or some foam here. I don't have anything on hand, but I have my daughter's portable diaper changing bag, so I'm going to set that up right there. And we have not used it yet. There's no messes in there in terms of a diaper, so we should be good to go. Okay, so first I'm going to install what I believe is the USB connection. So remember earlier we made that connection with the USB. What I believe this allows you to do is maintain the actual USB that's underneath down here. Can't really see it, but in the actual center console itself. So if you still wanted to plug into USB, you could do that. So we will make that connection first. And as you can see, things are pretty straightforward. It's like I said many times before, everything here is plug and play. So we're going to continue to plug and play along. So I'm going to put the head unit there. I have left the plastic screen on the radio to protect the actual screen until we finalize this installation. But again, as I've said many times before, now we're just looking for like connections. So found a like connection here. Oops, upside down. Sorry, not the right connection. There it is. Plug it in. And again, as you go through, you're really just looking for things that look similar and things that fit. So I'm just hammering along here, taking my good old time. And really, if you can see, you know, we've got some grooves and stuff in here. You can actually count the pins. This one has 8 pins. There's 2 grooves here. You can find something similar to opening, like kind of female receiving connections here. I'm sorry, retaining clip connections there with the actual pins. So let's go ahead and plug that in. Am I doing it the right way? Is it the right one? I believe it is. Might not be. But again, this is all kind of trial and error. What you want to make sure you don't do, though, is force these things in and potentially break something. So I'm going to take my time, make sure that is the right one. That looks like it is. So we will plug that in as well. Got one over here. We'll make those connections. And again, you're just kind of looking like for like, not forcing anything in. Don't want to break any of the actual connections, bend any of the pins or anything like that. And I'm looking to see if we have anything else outstanding over here. Doesn't look like it. Again, don't panic if you're not using all the existing plugs that were in there before, like these two. I don't see any type of connection that makes a whole lot of sense for it to connect into. So we're going to nix that one. Let's see, do we have anything for this one? We do not. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe that's all we have is 5 connections. So in a 2021 RAV4 hybrid, it looks like these 3 are the ones that are going to be remaining unplugged. All right, now that I have everything plugged in, before I go ahead and bolt everything up and tidy everything up, let's give it a test drive. Not really a test drive, but a test run to make sure everything connects or was connected. We got power, that's cool. Things are looking good. All right. So now that we know that we have power and everything's connected, I'm going to tidy everything up, show you how to reinstall everything, and then we'll get into some of the features that are included on this radio. All right, so again, I don't know if you really need this whole long extension. You can use it, but I'm going to slowly thread these bolts in by hand first because it's a little bit of a tight angle. Fortunately, the ones that you replace are the ones that were easier to have access to when we were uninstalling the radio. So they're the ones that are a little bit closer to the front, which is good. So start it by hand, threading it back in. And I don't want to over tighten it because that's metal frame. Well, now a plastic frame going back into the metal frame. The original brackets on the OEM radio were metal. So kind of just want to like hand tighten them. If you want to go a little crazy, you can. My concern is you're going to snap those plastic brackets, and we're not off-roading this RAV much, if at all, so I'm not overly worried about it kind of jostling around. I just bolted it in. It's pretty tight. And now the next thing we do is, it looks like just snap this back into place. Again, you've got these retaining clips, so you kind of want to line them up here. There's 3 along the back, 3 along the front. Set that into place. And I make it sound like it's easier than it really is, but I can assure you that access back here is annoying. Let's pop that in. Make sure I have it right on both sides. That's it. Popped in place. Voila, you've got your RAV radio back in. So I still do have the screen protector on. I'm going to leave it on for a little bit, just in case I want to take this back out and kind of maneuver it a little bit, but it's pretty tight in there. I'm not sure if I need to take it back out again. So this is the landing page that you're brought to. You can modify what shows up here as a widget. Again, this is if you're going to use the native UI. It's up to you if you want to use that. I'm a huge CarPlay fan if you've seen any of my other videos, so I'll show you how quick it is to link up to CarPlay. So that was pretty much it. You do have to make that initial connection. You find it on your Bluetooth, and if you go into your settings, you look at Bluetooth, it'll show you that you have a new radio connection. Once you connect to it, you allow the CarPlay to operate on your phone, and that's it. You're good to go. If you're at the Apple CarPlay home screen and you want to go back to the native UI, click Car, and it brings you right back here. So the same can be done with Android Auto as well. One of the other great features about this radio is that in that harness, it includes a device, I guess you could call it, that allows you to maintain the steering wheel controls on the radio. So volume up, volume down, skipping tracks. If you want to skip a track, it allows you to skip tracks, which is pretty cool. And yeah, pretty awesome that you can maintain the steering wheel controls. All right, guys, well, that just about does it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward in terms of the installation. You know, getting into all the settings. I mean, you can spend hours in your car just kind of playing around with all the different settings, downloading different apps, connecting to the internet, downloading YouTube, all that good stuff. But I don't know, this is pretty damn awesome. If you have a 2019 to 2022 4Runner RAV4, I highly suggest you make this upgrade just because it's so clean looking. When the radio first came in, all I could think was like, well, this thing is significantly wider. How the hell is this going to fit? Like, you know, you've got the vents and stuff here. How's that all going to work? I don't really get it, but I get it now because it looks so damn good. It fits. It looks like this was just the way the car came. And there's really no branding on it. This is a Roadanvi radio sold by Dacia, but there's no branding on it, so it looks like the car came this way. But really impressed with it. If you've made this upgrade, you know, definitely enter your comments in the comments section below. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are, what your experience has been. But easy installation, fun UI. Apple CarPlay is awesome, and that's just kind of what I'm sticking with. I'll modify this screen to my likings, and then my wife will change it because she'll want to modify it to her likings. But make sure to like this video, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Thanks.